introduction from Andrew, I'd like to reiterate that I am Kevin Shea. That is my mug that you just saw up on the screen. What I'd like to discuss with you today is clinical labels and making sure when you develop your labels you keep not only the patient but the site in mind throughout the entire process. Some of this may be a given for some of the folks on the phone. Other pieces of it may be new. And we're going to cover everything from the current challenges that we're seeing from our perspective, what we've seen at the Clintrak side, to some of the rules of the road for clinical labels, some of the common misconceptions about clinical labels, and then we'll get into some strategies that you can implement at your sites, from label text development strategies, strategies to assist the sites and the patient, which, through this whole process, sometimes the labels are thought of or are an afterthought in this whole process, and you don't even think about the sites or that a patient has to use these labels when they receive them. As well as strategies to make the labels more user-friendly, a user-friendly label to help drive compliance in the trial. And then we'll get into some final recommendations, and there should be some room at the end for any questions that you may have that at least I should, or hopefully should, be able to answer at the end of the webinar. So what are some of the current challenges that we are seeing in today's environment? And these are specific to clinical labels, but you may be able to carry them into other parts of the business. The regulatory support is limited and confusing. When it comes to clinical labels, the one thing that people seem most challenged with is the regulatory content of the labels. Some CROs that I've even spoken to are just refusing to perform the task for a multitude of reasons, one due to the time it takes, and the other due to some of the liability that's out there by letting you know or signing off on the fact of what needs to be on that label. You get into many discussions around preference versus actual requirements. There's a varying of opinions across the board from regulatory experts who to determine what should be on the label. Some of them written requirements, some of them just preferences based on what they've seen. Many times when you're developing your clinical label, if there is pushback from an actual country on the content, there's no support to provide feedback as to why they wanted something to be on the label or if it actually needs to be added. So you're kind of left alone after somebody signed off on the label, you're left alone to fight that battle. As well as there being limited guidance on what is needed. Sometimes it's just a blanket statement of what needs to be on the label. There's no pointing to a specific regulation. Nobody actually cites any regulation. It's just a blanket statement that you need to add a specific content to the label without giving any other backing information on that. We're also seeing the need to add more and more content to labels, whether it's required or falls into that preference category. More and more pre-filled syringes, smaller vials are being utilized. That means smaller containers, limiting the space on the labels. Is it all necessary? What countries can possibly get away with using an English-only label versus an actual booklet on some of these containers? And again, that still falls in line with some of that regulatory support. We're seeing an increased need for rush jobs. There's so many delays on the front end of the process, the translation, that regulatory information piece of the process, that it ends up causing a scramble on the back end, the manufacturing time of the labels to meet those first patient in dates, as well as so many changes with the protocol and the study requirements. It's not allowing any time to develop the labels. Countries are being added and dropped from translations, the regulatory reviews, and there's a late change to phrases or countries, you have to start essentially part of that process all over again. Meanwhile, your patients are scheduled to come in on a specific date. And with the challenges in getting patients there, how do you quickly turn that around without starting that whole process again? And finally, the resistance to change. With all the technology that is out there, this industry seems very hesitant to change, and whether that's company-driven, sponsor-driven, or regulatory authority-driven in the countries, there's certain things that people are very hesitant to change. Even on our side, we still produce labels that don't even have something as simple as a barcode printed on them for packaging purposes, for reconciliation, drug returns, that sort of thing. Companies just refusing to do it, as well as translations processes. A lot of it is undocumented. People just fall back to what they've always done, and you get a global team of people that are not following the same processes around the world. And then the standard comment of, we've always done it this way. People have been working in the industry a long time. They know what works for them, and they don't want to change the way they've been performing their day-to-day tasks.